Yo, welcome to the Hwei Champion Spotlight.
A former heir to the Temple of Koyan in Ionia, Hwei spent his youth training and honing paint magic with the temple's masters.
We did see that.
Beneath his melancholic exterior is
called
a
him Aphelios
fantastical
2.0,
and colorful
and everybody else on
imagination
the
that he's
internet.
able to bring to life with a swipe of his brush. Following the horrific yet captivating destruction of his temple home, Hwei's art now reflects an internal struggle between beauty and despair. The power of art can bring people together or rip them apart. Which will you choose? Welcome to the Hwei Champion Spotlight.
Oh, he looks
There's
very...
no secret to art. Just begin
Unique?
and keep going.
Look at
That's
that
all
effect
we
on
can
the,
do.
Oh, that's paint. I just realized it's actually a paint thing.
Hwei's Q, W, and E spellbooks each have 3 abilities
Yeah.
that are accessed by pressing 2 keys, like
Oh, it actually
QQ,
changes.
QW,
I
or
didn't
QE,
realize that.
and share cooldowns with
colors
other
on
spells
his,
from that
thing.
spellbook. The Q spellbook, Disasters, summons bombastic AoE spells and is your
Bombastic.
primary damage source. Pressing QQ casts Devastating Fire, a fiery dart that soars out in a line and explodes on the first enemy hit or at the end of its path to all enemies in the area.
Cool.
QW is Severing Bolt, a delayed but powerful artillery shot. Immobilized or isolated targets take
Kinda
extra
like,
damage based on their missing
Zared's,
health. QE is Molten Fissure,
W?
an exploding lava field
Never
that
played
deals damage and slows enemies in its path. The W spellbook, Serenities, is based around solo and team utility.
no, it doesn't
WQ is
change
Fleeting
colors,
Current, giving you and your
paint. Well, I
allies
thought it
movement
did.
speed
Maybe
in a
it
line.
does, I don't know.
WW is Pool of Reflection, granting shields in an area.
Okay, not bad.
WE is Stirring Lights, 3 encircling lights that buff your next 3 attacks or abilities with bonus damage that restores
Nami,
mana on
basically,
hit. The E spellbook, Torments, paints crowd control to restrain your enemies with horrific creations. EQ for Grim Visage damages and causes the enemy to flee.
Really?
EW for Gaze of the
Fear.
Abyss summons a painted eye that will lock onto the first enemy champion it sees, firing after a slight delay, damaging and rooting the first thing in its path.
Okay.
EE for Crushing Maw, damaging and pulling enemies toward the center, then slowing them as they crawl away.
Interesting.
This is a lot to digest, and we haven't even gotten to the rest of his kit.
Yep.
Here's a spellbook cheat sheet to screenshot and reference when initially playing the Visionary.
While
The
you're playing the
painter
game.
meets their subject.
Hold on
eye
a sec,
to
guys.
eye.
You know.
Hwei's passive is Signature of the Visionary. His damaging abilities mark enemy champions until it's detonated by a secondary damaging spell. If enemies can't move away in time, they'll be hit with a small AoE explosion. Hwei's passive is strongest when multiple targets are grouped for stacked Visionary detonation.
Oh, wow,
But
that's
timing
nice.
is key since enemies can leave the damage zone before the signature detonates. Quickly cast spells to apply the mark on several
Gotcha.
champions, then deal devastating AoE damage with a
So you
larger
gotta
spell.
keep him in that area. Yeah.
Hwei's
The
palette
slow
culminates into his
stuns.
ultimate work, Spiraling Despair. The spell sends
This
out a
one looks
thin,
pretty cool.
long-range missile that spawns a zone attached to the first enemy struck. Those caught in the zone are inflicted with Despair, an increasing slow that stacks over the ultimate's duration. They also receive ticking damage.
Damn.
Upon reaching the completion, the
Sure,
zone
Zed's
shatters,
actually
dealing tons of
slow.
damage to all stuck
Yeah.
within.
All the way.
Mastering Hwei's ultimate is to overwhelm your enemies with Despair, preventing their escape from the final implosion of damage. It's long range but can be tricky to land on one specific target. You'll want to utilize additional spellbook crowd control to help land the initial cast,
makes
then
sense.
trap multiple targets
Yeah.
when they're grouped up,
Yeah,
and
makes
stack
sense.
Despair slows to
It's
keep
actually-
enemies stuck within the
Feels
emptiness.
pretty.
None of
rewarding,
us
I
will
gotta
leave
say.
unchanged. I'll make sense of our suffering.
With myriad gameplay possibilities, Hwei was made to unlock a new level of creativity for players by creating a kit that mixes and matches abilities for any situation. His playstyle is unique among mages and reliant on comboing spells and mastering artistic blends. Becoming a Visionary is no small feat, and though Hwei's skill ceiling is higher than average, once the paint starts flowing, you'll be making masterpieces in no time.
I'm sure you get used to it.
As
yeah.
mentioned earlier, Hwei's spellbooks have 3 abilities each for a total of 9 possible basic abilities. Q abilities are damage-based, W abilities are utility-focused, and E abilities have crowd control.
Yeah.
While some spells have a straightforward use, flex your artistic creativity to mix spellbook abilities and create spell
It
combinations
looks
on
really
the fly.
cool though. It looks very.
When you're learning
rewarding.
Hwei, try using every spell sequence at least once to get in the flow of pressing 2 keys to cast.
Please focus. You shape what I make.
Let's paint a better picture of some possible rotations. Use WE for quick trades and to stretch out your mana pool between spells in lane. You can also use WE into QQ for a reliable 1-2 punch, zoning them from minions while clearing your own wave. If you can land an empowered auto attack, you'll even get the Visionary Signature Explosion. To maximize an AoE combo, QE to slow, then EE to pull enemies back into the lava field, and finish
Master
with a
E is dead.
QW as they try to retreat. You can also cull your opponent's aggression with an EQ Fear, then follow that up with a QQ or QW trade of your own.
He has a lot of options.
One of
That's
Hwei's full rotations starts with a
lot of
WE
options
auto attack to attach
and
a Visionary Signature to your target and
skill
apply a
expression.
damage buff to your next couple spells. Then you'll want to EE to pull enemies into place for spiraling despair. While they're slowed with increasing despair
that's a lot
stacks
of
and
damage,
passive
I feel
bars, use QE or QQ
do
to
land
slam more
everything, though.
damage and guarantee an explosive finish. Phew, that had a lot of layers. But Hwei's art isn't limited to destruction spells and terrorizing your lane opponents. When you're in the thick of a jungle chase, use a WQ speed boost to get in range for EW and prevent enemies from escaping.
Well,
You can also utilize
land
WW
your,
shielding when sieging
spells
objectives.
so much easier.
But if an unintended
the
team
ult.
fight breaks out, WQ instead for a speedy getaway, and QE to slow down pursuers.
A piece is never really finished,
Damn.
just abandoned.
For all his fantastical spells, Hwei's survivability relies on being proactive and managing his cooldowns. He has a defensive safety net with WQ's move speed or WW
but there's
shield,
like a
but
flash
he
or
may
anything
feel
like that,
incentivized to WE often for damage and restoring mana. Since each spellbook shares cooldowns, if you waste WE on some minions, you'll be left without any defense if the enemy jungler
It
decides
does
to
have
gank.
like a dash or a
You'll
flash
also need to
or
know
something.
when to paint offensive abilities.
the
EW
run.
is great for checking a brush,
Movement
but
speed.
it'll lock you out of EQ's fear and EE's disengage if a fight suddenly breaks out.
True. You gotta
QQ
choose.
is all but guaranteed damage, but then Hwei won't have the reactive disengage from QE slow. Each spell serves a unique purpose, and understanding which spell to use in the right situation is key. Remember,
high
there's no
ceiling,
such thing as mistakes,
like
just
they said.
happy accidents. If you enjoy controlling the battlefield like Orianna and Victor,
Bob
then
Ross.
Hwei is a great choice. He also has a ton of skill potential if you like playing high-skilled champions like Azir. Or if you suffer from a looming sense of artistic dread and struggle to complete your list of works in progress, this is the Hwei. Feelings are temporary and art is forever, so take that pain and make it paint. Learn more about Hwei, the Visionary, at the links below.
It looks like Diego almost. Maybe it's the hair. Like I said before, you know, it looks excellent for like skill expression, high ceiling. It feels like, you know, landing the ult and then slowing down enemies, or like stunning enemies, or stunning and ulting, or vice versa. Like really helps land all your spells, and you gotta choose the right spells for the right time, for the right situation. It looks really cool. It's again, it's kind of like a Philios. Now it all depends on his numbers, right? If his numbers are good, he's gonna like wreck face. If his numbers are bad, he's gonna be like 40% win on in the league. You know, gonna have to see what's up. I'll have to see what the pros are doing with this champion. And again, it looks pretty highly skilled. I have no idea if that's how you feel once you play the champion, because I'm not really that interested in mages, but he looks freaking cool. Thank you for watching. Peace out.